Hello, and welcome back to No Longer Legally Detained, the podcast about life after the psych ward. How do you know? Wait, bear with. Let's start again. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast No Longer Legally Detained. Hello, and welcome back to No Longer Legally Detained, the podcast about life after the psych ward. How do you navigate being an adult when you never expected to be one? Hello, and a long time no see. Hence why it's taken about 4 times for me to get this intro right. And if you're watching this, I hope I don't keep knocking that mic, but I'm actually doing my makeup because I've wanted to upload an episode that is my moisturiser, just to clarify, for so long, but I just had so much going on. Like, literally, I know I say that all the time, and I was really determined to get an episode up today, as today is the 10th of October, which is World Mental Health Day. And it's just obviously such a important day, and obviously something that like me and the things I like stand for and fight for like really matters. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to wait for things to be perfect because they're never going to be perfect or even like ready. I'm just going to do it. So I literally just to clarify, this episode is going to be a complete like catch up ramble. I'm doing my makeup because I've not got enough time basically, so I'm like habit stacking, putting everything together, doing things at the same time, in the hope to get more things done. So instead of doing my makeup and then recording, I was like, you know what, if I want to record, I need to do my makeup while doing it. So we're just going to excuse like the really bad doing of the makeup while I'm talking. But there's lots to get into, lots I want to talk about. To be fair, kind of while I've been, my thing's going to pop off my head. While I've been away from the podcast, I've done a lot of thinking, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of growing. I have a real thing with like having sticky hands, so I've got these. I'm actually use wipes for now, but there's definitely going to be a pause in this when I have to go and actually wash my hands properly. But anyway, where was I? So I can't remember the last episode I recorded for this podcast. Oh, I missed the bin. But a lot has happened since then. So if you have listened to the podcast or like mainly watched the podcast, you will see that I'm in a very different background. So I moved. So yeah, I've been here for like nearly 2 months, and it's the best place I've ever lived. I absolutely love it. It definitely made me so much happier. I feel like really safe and secure, and I feel like it feels like a home, which is really good. And this is like going to be the most chaotic, like brain dumpy thing I've ever done, but that's partly what I wanted to kind of talk about. And when I was thinking about bringing back the podcast, like I've really struggled with like the whole, which I need a mirror. I really struggled with the whole like, hey, I'm still here. This is going to be like really chaotic if you're just listening and not seeing, but this is me. So unapologetic authenticity to the end. So I have done this podcast now for well over a year, possibly coming up to, I think it'll be 2 years like next May. And it's been very on and off. So I definitely haven't by any means like done it religiously. But I think the past kind of 6 months has been a real like turning point and a real learning curve. And I know I say that all the time, but that is like kind of the thing of life, is that we're always growing, always moving, always learning. And I think in this past, only in probably the past month, I've started to take my Instagram kind of activism a lot more seriously. Like I always took it quite seriously, but like I had a few posts do quite well, and I think it was then when like I wanted to like move off that momentum. And my goal has never been to like necessarily grow an Instagram following or anything like that, but I do want to grow my voice in the areas that I'm really passionate about, and therefore social media is, a good way to go about doing that. So yeah, so I thought today I would just come on and say hi, because it's World Mental Health Day. I've got a yellow t-shirt on. Literally had to just run to Asda to get this t-shirt because I didn't have any yellow in my wardrobe at all. But also catch up where I've been, what I've been doing, and kind of some of the things that I've learned over the past months that I've not been on the podcast, and also like kind of give you some of the ideas of what I might want to do to kind of in the future with this. Equally, like I'm really, open and wanting like other people's suggestions, like things that they would like to hear. I know I've got quite a long, because I've been promising it for ages, having some guests on here. I've got quite a long guest list of people who would love to, who kind of have very similar messages or like values to me, of also like very different experiences. And I think it would be amazing to be able to platform other people here as well. So that is something that I'm definitely looking into. Let's start with a little catch up of where I've been, what I've been up to. Yeah. So again, I'm gonna have to look when the last episode. Oh, I've got a really itchy nose, bear with. I keep getting really like tickly nose. Oh, sorry, a lot of ums. Where have I been? So I can't remember the last episode when I've stopped doing my eyebrows. I'll have a look. On my phone. Where is my phone? I'm still very ADHD. When was my last episode? I actually can't remember. But it feels like it's been forever. I can't lie. The 11th of July. So yeah, it's been a very long time. That was the day that went up the day before my birthday. And for my birthday, I had a pink picnic, which was amazing. It was really lovely. Like, that was where I was staying before, and it was just lovely to have lots of people who I really cared about come together, and it was very wholesome vibes. And then kind of I did a summer shed. So I am studying at an inclusive theatre, doing inclusive performance, and so we kind of finished off that year, and then I worked on their like summer camp program, which was definitely such a massive turning point for me. It was almost like the opportunity I needed to be able to show who I really was. I think the whole of last year, like on my course, I was definitely not able to show the real me on any level, and I think that's not against like the people of the course or anything like that. That's just the way it is. Like, when for me, as like someone who's got quite significant like trauma and like things like that, like it takes a lot of time, and especially a lot of like educational trauma. It takes a long time for me to kind of open up and feel safe. And I think I definitely got myself in a bit of like a cycle of kind of not being able to be my best self. And I think during Summer Shed, that kind of switch in role from being like the student who's more dependent to the facilitator who is more independent was like really what I needed to kind of kickstart showing who I was. I also did We Are Chicken Shed, which is like their celebration of all things like Chicken Shed, and I got my own piece in that, which again was such a moment of like, it's almost like the thing of other people believing in you before you believe in yourself, and kind of like showing you that they trust you, and like that allows me to then kind of let that wall down. And it's really hard because why would people trust you if you haven't shown them that they can? But equally, until somebody does, I really find it hard to show what I can do. So it's a bit of a catch-22. But over the summer with Summer Shared and Fix You, it was amazing. Sorry, I'm just now doing some daisies eyeliner, and that's needed a lot of focus. Right, I'm back. So yeah, that was definitely a real turning point. And I had a really nice, really nice summer. Kind of, it was very busy, quite stressful. I made the decision to move out of my old place for a variety of reasons. I ended up having to sleep in a cupboard for 2 weeks, which was rogue, really quite crazy. And we went and looked at different places. I was like really worried that I wasn't going to be able to find anywhere. I kind of was slightly scared I'd have to maybe go back up north, which is not what I wanted, because I knew that wouldn't be the best thing for like my well-being at all. I'm now just doing hearts, which is with eyeliner, which is just really crazy. So all of those things were kind of playing on my mind, but equally, I did feel like I was in a really good place. Then, unfortunately, there were a few kind of events that happened that were less than ideal, and I think that's a big reason as to why the podcast has taken a bit of time to come back. I had a couple of events at like the end of August, beginning of September, which really did knock me for six. I was absolutely kind of destroyed by these events, and they really, they were things that played on a lot of my traumas and my insecurities. So it was really tricky, and it was one of those things that 6 months ago, a year ago, I would not have survived. But that does show me like how far I've come. And although it was really horrible and really painful, and I don't deserve those things to happen, I have to keep reminding myself, actually it did show me how far I've come. So yeah, and then I've started back in September at uni. So I'm in my second year of my degree in inclusive performance, and because of the way that my uni set up, this is like the end of the course at the end of this year, and then you have a choice to like stay on and do the BA top up to get like your full qualification. So we have like an end of year show and things like that. But it started off kind of good. Then again, like these kind of events that were really tricky kind of escalated, and so we had a really like bleak part, kind of not this past week, but before last week, like the first like 2-3 weeks were really really bad. And how awful I felt. I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, like, to feel that alone and that isolated and that like hurt and destroyed and in pain is not something I would wish on anybody. It was really horrible. And so that made me question a lot of things. It made me question myself, my self-worth, my like reason for being on the planet, like all of it. And to be honest, it very nearly took me. But I think it was a conversation on a random Thursday evening with someone who will never know how much that really short Instagram DM conversation literally did save me again. And I think that like that person doesn't know. We were just talking about kind of colouring and like they'd had an experience with somebody who I'd had a bad experience with the same day, and it kind of just this. Oh, I bet I've knocked that microphone. Sorry. I'm trying to do my hair now, and it was that moment where like it's almost as if sometimes we need those moments to remind us like why we're here and what we're doing. I normally have to wet my hair before I can plait it, because otherwise my thing here no. I can't plait my hair. We'll try and do it dry. We'll see what happens. So yeah, and that was kind of the point where like I hit rock bottom again and was like, you know what? Like, although you feel like completely alone, completely isolated, you feel like you've got nobody and nothing. The only person you need is yourself. And once you've got yourself, like that's the person you will always have, and yourself deserves more than like destroying yourself because of anybody else, regardless of like who they are and what they're doing. And so it was at that point I was like, right, let's sort it. So I booked to go swimming like at 6 a.m. on Friday morning, which for many people when they hear that I do that, they think, what the hell? I have really got into swimming. So I go early in the morning swimming, and honestly, it's the best thing. It's like you're awake before the world is awake, and it's like you. The big reason why I really like swimming in the morning is because you like do avoid a lot of like weirdos, which I think is always positive, really. But yeah, it's just really kind of chill and wholesome, and it's like that kind of. It's also you have to be really mindful because there's nothing else to do while you're swimming. Like you have to, and someone with a really like busy ADHD brain, my brain literally never stops. So when I'm swimming, it's like one of the only times that like I can't have any input because there is no input to have. So yeah, so I booked swimming Friday morning, and then I went into a shopping centre because one of my like lessons had been cancelled. So I thought, you know what, let's go. So I went into centre of London to get part of my costume for Christmas show, and got a coffee, and then I came back, went to my rehearsal for a Christmas show, and that was like good. And then the next day I woke up and was like, right, time to organize myself. Like, as many of you will know, when you're in like a burnout or like a depressive episode or whatever, like honestly everything goes to absolute shit. So like my room was such a state. I needed to do the kitchen and everything. So like I literally went shopping, got a load of like food, cleaned the kitchen, like deep cleaned the kitchen actually. Tried to clean my room, that wasn't very successful, but meal prepped like 2 different lots of meals. And then I went on to Datix and got a relatively cheap, it was still expensive, ticket to go and watch musicals by candlelight that evening. So I went into Covent Garden and went to the Actors Church, I think it's called, and listened to an hour of a string quartet playing different songs from the musicals. And it was just, yeah, it was again just really reminded me, like I was obviously by myself, obviously apart from with Ted's, and as I was just walking around I could see the hustle and bustle of like all the people, but I was kind of like just in my own little head, my own little world, and it was actually just what I needed. It was what I needed to reset. Oh, and I forgot to say, on the Thursday evening, after the conversation I had with this person, I then had a fully clothed cold shower, which sounds really rogue, but it is honestly, like, I cannot recommend a fully clothed cold shower more. Like, if I tried, like, honestly, you know, when it's that thing of when your nervous system is so dysregulated, and it doesn't matter how like much you try or how hard you try, even when you have like the most positive mindset, because your nervous system is dysregulated at its core, every little thing still kind of sends you into a trigger. And that's what was kind of happening. And it was almost that complete like shock. It was the shock that actually allowed me to kind of reset and start again. So yeah, that was actually, I forgot, that was quite a big part of what I did to help myself. So yeah, what was I? And then Sunday I was working at the theatre again, which again was a really, really lovely session. And that was just another like reminder of the good things that are happening in life. And like we were quite short staffed, so that feeling of like being needed, and obviously like there's always someone that can replace you, there's always, you know, and that's just life and that's okay. But sometimes we do need to be reminded of like, sometimes it's nice to like have that feeling of like being needed or being wanted, because especially when you're feeling so lonely and so isolated and so like almost like suicidal as well, I think is really, and that's a big thing that I've realized. And like obviously there's a whole thing of like the pressure, like you don't want to put pressure on people to feel like, because that can also mean that like that pressure can be a reason that people are like, you know, struggle with their mental health, because they're like, oh, like without me I can't cope, but I need a rest. And I think there's definitely a happy medium of getting it right. And you know, it is absolutely true that everybody is replaceable, and every room that you're in would run without you being there, but that feeling of being needed and being wanted simultaneously is still really like vital. And I think that like that purpose, and when I look back to, you know, when I was poorly for so long, the kind of the turning point for me was when I started working as a one-to-one SENTLA, because that child needed me. And obviously, you know, if I wasn't there, someone else would take that job, and that's like good because that child needs somebody with them. But so it's not like me personally, but it's like the line between like knowing that like you're there for a purpose. And I think that that's a really big thing that I've kind of realized is like, so I do a different kind of thing on like a Wednesday, like late afternoon, early evening. And like what I noticed is that sometimes like I really don't like that session, because, and when I'm like thinking about it, I'm like, because I feel like I'm not like needed or slash wanted. And then when people are like, yeah, but everyone's like needed and wanted, but like obviously if you weren't there, like we'd carry on. And obviously like absolutely I'm like, it's not that I want that, but I think it's like having a job within a space that obviously, like, if you weren't there, somebody else would take on that job. But knowing that, like, within a space, you're not just there, you're there for a reason and for a purpose. And I think that just those small, like, changes are things that, like, really help. And I think that that's what I've, like, learned a lot about myself in, like, the past couple of weeks, is like, when I'm in a space, I need to feel like I am needed / wanted in that space. Not that if I'm not there, things aren't going to happen, because absolutely, like, it's not me, but like, while I am there, what I hold a reason and a purpose to be there. I don't even know if that makes any sense whatsoever. I don't mean it in a really, like, self-centered way. Like, yeah, I'm not sure if it makes any sense, but yeah, that's that. So yeah, so that's been kind of things, and you know what? I'm doing okay. I'm doing well. There's always going to be ups and downs in this life. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be so many things. And I think, like, sat here, like, on World Mental Health Day, I do think that, you know, one of the biggest causes of the significant decline in mental health in our country at the moment is such a big part of it is loneliness. I was talking to someone the other day about how, like, every single problem in the world is caused by interpersonal relationship problems. And I stand by that as a thought and as a concept. And it's just interesting how we are, as human beings, some of the most intelligent yet bizarre and often stupid kind of beings on this planet. And the world is so complicated, and emotions are complicated, and people are complicated, and relationships are complicated. And I think for so long, it's almost like I wanted to beat that system, or like find the key or the answer to that system. And there is no, and we kind of already know that, don't we? That there isn't an answer, there isn't a way to be. But I think through everything, and despite, like, there being so many moments, like, even in the past 3 weeks, where, like, it has felt impossible to carry on, it's felt impossible to continue living, and it's felt impossible to contemplate a future. I think there's also been so many moments, even the tiny moments, of realizing, like, why it is worth carrying on. And whether that be little puppy cuddles, whether that be a child, you know, coming to you to tell you that they don't like the theme of the workshop, but actually how safe that they must feel to be able to come and tell you that they don't like the theme of the workshop, is something that is really, you know, those are the little moments, those are the little glimmers. And I think, you know, every time somebody gives me a smile, or comes and gives me a hug, or says that they've missed me, or that you know, they're glad to see me, all of those things kind of are those small moments of connection. And I think this World Mental Health Day, I've made some very basic, like, Rice Krispie nests, and I'm going to write out some positive affirmations in a minute and put them in a pot and take them with me to uni. And I think that, like, if I can do anything, I want to be that person that gives that tiny comment, gives that listening ear, because so often, so many of us in this life, all we want is someone to actually listen and hear us. You know, we don't necessarily need them to have the answer, because often we do have the answers within ourselves. It's about feeling heard and wanted and having that purpose. And I think that is why I'm bringing back the podcast. It's why I'm working on my website and my social media. And it's hard because when I think about my podcast, I think, like, what am I going to talk about? Like, is anyone even going to want to listen? Like, how do I structure it? Do I sound this? Do I sound that? And I've realized that, like, I have often very much structured my podcasts. And I think when podcasts started, they were just literally people, like, yapping. And I think that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this as a platform to expand on some of the things that, like, are too long for Instagram and too long for any other kind of social media. And I just want to use it as a place to share my experiences, share my thoughts, have a laugh, have a cry. I think, I'm not a professional, I'm not a doctor, I'm not, any of those things. I never claim to be and never want to be. I just want to be a person who is here and who, in those moments where maybe you feel isolated, alone, like no one understands, no one hears, I want to say that I am here. I'm here, I'm listening. And even if I'm just put on in the background while you're, doing some colouring or washing up or walking to school, walking to uni, like if I can be that little voice of comfort, then I'm here. And also, I think hopefully along the way, sharing my experiences, other people's experiences, obviously them coming on and sharing their experiences, maybe it will make one other person feel less alone or resonate with one other person, and that's worth everything. So yeah, No Longer Legally Detained is back. I am still not legally detained, so absolutely winning there. And we're here to be our unapologetic and authentic self. And I think that some of my favourite comments I've ever had from people are when they say that what they love about me or my things that I write or my speeches is how unapologetically authentic I am. And that is what I want this podcast to be. This podcast is me. And I will make mistakes. I will say things. I will always need to learn and educate myself. I will need to cry. I will need to laugh. But I want it to be me, 110% me. And I think in a world where everyone is trying to always make us into something we're not, I think the biggest form of resistance is to continue to be myself. And so often I've been told that I'm too much, that people don't like me, or they think this or think that, and it's really hard to remain like authentic and remain yourself when you're constantly being told that people don't like you or all of those things. But I think the biggest act of radical defiance in this modern world is to love even harder than the hate, and to be yourself despite what anybody might say. So yeah, I'm back, and I really hope that you will follow along. I hope that you will subscribe to. I hope you will give us 5 stars. I hope you follow the Instagram at Legally Detained, and Legally Detained Collective. I hope that you just see someone today and give them a positive comment, a smile, a hug, consensually, obviously. And yeah, I hope that together, in a very small way, we can make this, what feels like quite a scary and hateful world, that little bit more loving. So speak soon.